Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, Dr. Abby. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you so much for, taking time out of your busy schedule to be
That's
here.
okay.
Yeah, and today we are also connected by our mutual friend Sonia. So tell me how you know Sonia Bernhard.
So I first met Sonia when I was 19 years old. I started working for her as a vacationer on a IT systems project at Brisbane City Council.
Yeah.
So that's how we met, and I worked on that project for about a year and a half. And over that time, we became quite close, and she's basically been a mentor to me ever since that time. And, we've connected at various different times, and she's someone I go to for advice, and we've known each other a very long time now.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Shout out to Sonia. So, for those who haven't actually met Sonia, how would you describe her in terms of personality?
Sonia's an amazing woman, as everybody knows. I mean, obviously she's done a lot for IT in Queensland and Australia, but, she's just one of those people who's highly energetic, really inspirational. She's a very hard worker. She's worked quite hard to get to the point that she has now, and, I think she's a very strong female leader and influencer, and I think that's one of the reasons I've looked up to her for many, many years. She's been really strong supporter and advocate of me and my career, and I think she's really pushed me to be the best that I can be, and I think you need, it's really important to have really strong female role models, and Sonia's definitely one of those people. So yeah.
For sure. And Sonia is also really, really out there and really authentic and also really loud. She not afraid to be herself kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. And then maybe can you just give a 1-minute introduction about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm an economist by background. I currently work in finance, in regulatory finance. So I work for the federal government, and my job at the moment is very strategy based. So that's what I do now. But I've been studying economics since I was 14 years old. So I knew very early on that I would do something related to economics. And so that's been a strong part of my life for a very long time. And I've had a very diverse career. So I did a PhD in health economics. And then that took me to the consulting world. And I was in consulting for about 8.5 years before I moved into the government role that I have now. So I think I've had quite a diverse career so far. I've worked, with many interesting people across many different projects, across, many different sectors and industries, and, I worked across Australia. So I feel like I've done a lot career-wise so far.
Yeah. And you've managed to try different routes, try academia, also try consulting, try doing your own business. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've kind of covered all bases, I think, so far. Yeah.
Yeah, but before we get into that, let's start from the very beginning. Yeah, so tell me more about your childhood. Heard that you were traveling around a lot when you were a kid, and
yeah, so I'm from Sri Lanka originally. I was born in Sri Lanka, but I never lived there. My dad, who's now retired, was an expat civil engineer. So growing up, I lived in Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Brunei, and then we migrated to Australia. So I went to 11 different schools in 4 countries growing up, which really was a fantastic experience. I wouldn't trade that in for anything. I think, I had a very interesting childhood. I met lots of different people, experienced lots of different things, and it certainly makes you very like flexible and adaptive and great with change, I think, when you do so many things when you're quite young. So so that was basically my life growing up.
Yeah, that's cool. And then I also read that you didn't really like school. So tell me more about that. Loved reading, but not really school.
Yeah, I come from a very academic family. I learned to read quite early on, and I loved reading. I think, I wasn't really a huge fan of school growing up because I found school to be quite sort of conformist in a way. And, you kind of had to fit a particular mold, which wasn't me. I was very creative. And, I think I was quite an individual. I'm an only child, so I think, I had a vivid imagination. I guess I just always wanted to do more. And I don't do very well when I'm sort of told that this is sort of what you have to be and what you have to do. Which is why I enjoyed university a lot in comparison to school. I think because university gives you the freedom to explore lots of different areas and be yourself, and I think you probably learn more about yourself when you're at university than you do when you're at school. So yeah. But I would say this, the one thing about school is that I did love was economics, and it is at school. I started studying economics when I was 14 years old, as I think I mentioned, so that's a really long time. So that happened at school, obviously.
Yeah, and how did you come across economics?
Just purely by chance. It was purely by chance. I just stumbled across it. And then in year 11, 12, I decided to do economics as one of my subjects. And I had an amazing economics teacher who really solidified for me that, this was, certainly a career path that I wanted to and needed to pursue. So I'll be very grateful for that. School has good and bad things, I guess.
Yeah.
But you learn from both. At the end of the day, it all shapes your experiences. Yeah,
and so when you discovered economics at 14, what sort of drew you to it, to the point where you're like, hey, I could actually see myself in it? That's like a pretty big sort of...
Yeah, I think for me, economics sort of has lots of different interesting components. I mean, it's very behavior related, which I found really interesting, the whole psychology behind people's choices and the way they make decisions. I never liked accounting, but economics, uses maths in a different way. I think the main thing I love about economics is that it is applicable to many different areas, and there's so many different areas of economics. You can be in health economics, you can be macroeconomist, you can be an environmental economist. It covers such a wide range of areas and topics. And I think having a strong understanding of economics is actually quite important, especially in this day and age, regardless of if you're an economist or not, just understand how the world works and, how markets work. And I think it just has such wide-reaching applications, which is one of the things that really appealed to me. I think just the fact that it was so diverse and you could explore so many different areas as part of economics.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, economics can really sort of explain like everything in the world, pretty much.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and so kind of curious more about your childhood growing up. So moving to 11 schools in 4 countries, what was it like making friends?
As I said, it makes you quite flexible and adaptive, so you sort of make friends quite quickly. You just kind of go with the flow, really, and see what happens, and that's basically it,
yeah. How hard is it to, make friends and then to leave?
I didn't really think about it that way, to be honest. It was just more sort of on to the next adventure, and just because, you're not in the same country as someone doesn't mean that you're not still friends. I've got friends all over the world. I don't think it really holds you back.
Yeah, but I guess back in the day when like kids that don't, Facebook wasn't a thing, technology, there wouldn't be any way for you guys to keep in contact.
No, not true. We had a lot of pen pals. You wrote letters?
You
wrote a lot of letters and you phoned
really
people
cute.
up.
Yeah. Oh,
that's what we did back in the day.
Yeah.
But really, I kind of feel like it's almost like we were closer back then because, you know, we always had play dates at each other's houses.
Yeah.
We actually spent a lot more time with each other than I think kids probably spend with other kids these days. So, yeah, it was a good life. You know, we had lots of fun growing up. We went on lots of family trips with other people and yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Did you ever want your parents like, please, like, can we not move again? Like,
No, not really.
times.
Like we moved on average every 2 years.
Wow.
And when we stopped moving, it was kind of a bit weird, to be honest, that we weren't moving. So, you know, growing up, that's all I knew. And it was fine.
Yeah, that's so good.
I didn't really think that, oh, you know, I want to stay here and, oh, I don't really want to move. I didn't really think that. That wasn't really something that came across my mind. So it just kind of went on to the next adventure, really.
Oh, that's cool. That's a really good outlook on life, the next adventure.
Yep.
Yeah, what about in terms of personality-wise? Were you pretty extroverted? You loved reading?
No, so as I said, I was an only child growing up. So I was actually quite shy and introverted. Yeah. You know, I liked reading. I had vivid imagination. You know, I was very good spending time by myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really sort of until maybe high school and onwards that I sort of became more extroverted. I did speech and drama as a kid, so that really helped me sort of come out of my shell. And, you know, I like to sort of give speeches and tell stories and all that kind of stuff. But I think I probably became more extroverted in university, especially after I started sort of tutoring and lecturing. And then once I sort of joined consulting, I probably became more extroverted because you have to be. Because consulting is a very people person type job, so you have to be able to talk to people.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And how did you skip grade 10, by the way? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, again, it just sort of happened. I actually started school quite early. I started grade 1 when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, you know, it's just different countries, different systems, and ended up skipping grade 10 and went to started uni at 17. And finished my first double degree at 20.
That's so
crammed a lot of subjects in. So I started a PhD when I was pretty young. I was like 22, I think.
Oh my gosh. Damn, that's pretty cool. And so I just want to go back to high school. So like when you were thinking in terms of the future, what kind of career aspirations did you have as a kid?
Well, you know, when I was in primary school, I went from everything. Like I wanted to be a doctor, and then I wanted to...
Classic.
You know, I wanted to be... when I was in grade 7, I was quite obsessed with becoming a journalist because I was really into writing at that point. And then I discovered economics, and it's like from that point on, I knew that, you know, regardless of what I did, it would definitely involve economics. So I knew in terms of university, I would definitely do an economics degree. But I wanted to do a double degree, and I didn't know what that other degree might be. I thought it might be law.
Yeah.
Turned out law wasn't for me. So then I ended up doing business management, which worked really well with economics. And I majored in information systems and also did a minor in international business. And that's kind of how I ended up getting to know Sonia because, you know, I worked with her on an information systems project. And then I went on to do a master's in international economics and finance. So I think I was always interested in, you know, anything to sort of do with economics and something that's international focused that just gives you that global sort of focus. I think that's what I was really interested in. Yeah,
that's cool. And just wondering, did your parents have sort of any input on what they wanted you to do, or, you know, like...
Well, they didn't want me to do economics.
Is that because of, like, maybe it's harder to get a job or whatever?
Yeah, I'm the only economist in the family.
Congratulations.
You know, they wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist, like most other, or engineer, as most other subcontinental parents. But then, you know, they also wanted me to be happy, and I think they could see that this was a really good fit. And they've been very supportive of everything I've done so far. So, yeah,
that's cool. And tell me more about your experience studying your dual degree. How did you find it?
It was pretty full on. you know, when I was at university, you could do a dual degree in 4 years. I'm pretty sure you're not even allowed to do that anymore.
How long does it usually take? Like 5?
5.5.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, I think if it's with law or medicine, it's like 6, 7 years. You know, it's much longer these days. Yeah, it was a great experience. You know, I got to study lots of different subjects. For 2.5 years, I actually did 5 courses each semester, and I did a summer semester in there as well. So it was pretty full on. And then obviously I started working with Sonia as well. So it was quite busy.
Yeah.
It went very quickly, to be honest. It was all a bit of a blur. And yeah, and then I decided to do a master's, and it just kind of sort of went on from there. Yep.
Yeah, and like, how does one decide they want to complete their degree quicker? Was that something that you like set as a goal from the very beginning, or like why do 5 subjects a semester if you have the choice?
Yeah, you know, I just thought, why not? That's kind of my motto in life. It's, you know, everyone kind of asks you, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But no one kind of thinks, why not? You know, I wanted to experience lots of different subjects, and, you know, if I was interested in something, I wanted to try it out. So I thought, well, why not? Just give it a go, see what happens. But like, you know, I think especially with something like economics, you need to do that to actually figure out what area it is you're actually interested in. And, you know, life kind of takes you in lots of different directions. So, you know, after I did my degree, I thought I wanted to do international economics, and I thought that was my focus, and that's why I did a master's in that. And then, you know, again, I stumbled across health economics just by chance. You know, I was at a conference to present a paper on international economics, and I went to this session and someone was talking about health economics, and I never even heard about health economics before. I didn't even know it existed, but it all sounded really interesting. And, you know, I started talking to people, and that's how I kind of decided I wanted to do a PhD in health economics. So I'm all about taking up opportunities, you know, never let an opportunity go to waste. Because you never know where it's going to take you. So yeah, you know, and I think that's what you should do when you're young. You've got nothing to lose, so you just try everything out and see what happens.
Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, you talk about seizing opportunities, but like, I guess on the flip side, you know, completing your degree like so quick, do you think that you maybe missed out on something? Like, I don't know, you weren't able to go to as many extracurricular activities or socialize with your friends or etc.?
You know, you got to remember I was still pretty much an introvert, so you know, I didn't really need. You know, I still had lots of friends. I still did stuff outside of uni. I wasn't a party person, so so I didn't feel like I was missing out on that aspect. I guess I was just pretty focused on trying to, you know, do well at uni, I guess, and see where that took me. So yeah.
Was it like the challenge of doing 5 subjects? Like, because I feel like I don't necessarily, like, you know, if they say like 4 subjects semester, I don't necessarily like question it or anything like that. So I'm kind of like curious as to maybe like where you got the idea, or like, oh, you know, this is too slow, this is too easy, or
well, like I said, when I was at uni, you know, finishing a double degree in 4 years was pretty normal. So it wasn't abnormal to do 5 subjects in a semester. Like, that's the maximum you were allowed to do. Doing 5 subjects every semester for 2.5 years was probably abnormal, but I don't know, I just did it. Like, yeah, sure, you got to work hard, but, you know, you got to work hard to get anywhere in life, right? So, yeah, you just sort of, it was full on, I'm not going to lie, but just sort of went with it, really. Yeah.
Pretty cool. And so when you were in your bachelor's, like, maybe like when did you think that you would do a PhD? When did that sort of idea pop up?
When I was doing a bachelor's, I wasn't thinking about doing a PhD at all. I wanted to do a master's degree. I didn't want to do honours.
Tell me about that story.
Well, you know, honours never really appealed to me because I felt that honours was more sort of straight economics and more designed towards people who, you know, wanted to work for Treasury or, you know, really do hardcore, what I call sort of hardcore economics, which wasn't really what I wanted to do. Whereas, you know, a master's just gives you a more broader background. You know, again, you meet more interesting people. And so that's the direction that I wanted to take, and that's the direction I took. And, you know, again, it's all about the people who are your mentors in life. So again, you know, when I was at uni, I had, you know, I did an undergrad subject where I had a fantastic lecturer who's a bit like Sonia, you know, just one of those really inspiring people, really energetic, enthusiastic, and I asked him if he wanted to be my master's thesis supervisor, you know. So, yeah, and again, you know, don't regret that decision. And it wasn't until I did the master's that I thought about doing a PhD. So, you know, it's kind of like one step at a time. It's not like I had a grand plan to do a PhD. It wasn't like, you know, anything like that. It's just something that sort of came along at that point in time. One of the reasons I decided to do a PhD was because when I was doing my master's, that's the first time I was, you know, I'd ever done any sort of research, and I really enjoyed it. And I just thought, you know what, I'd really like to do more research at this point in time. And that's one of the reasons I applied to do a PhD. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I saw in your LinkedIn post how, what is it, the head of school was saying, oh, you should do honours, blah, blah, masters. How hard was it to sort of like turn a blind eye to their advice and to think that you, I guess, knew better than... Cause
you got to always go with your gut feeling. At the end of the day, you know best. So, you know, right or wrong, you got to just make a decision and go with it. So... and my parents were very keen on me doing masters, not so much honours. And, you know, I'd already done a double degree, so I kind of felt I'd spent a lot of time already at undergrad level, and I was ready to do more at the postgrad level. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what about, like, how did you decide you wanted to go straight into master, not like get some, I guess, industry experience first?
So I should also say, I mean, I was still working at Brisbane City Council while I was doing my master's degree. I was also tutoring at university. So I was doing a full-time master's. It was a 1.5 year master's, and I was working 2 jobs at the same time. So, yeah. And also, in addition to that, like while I was an undergrad, I also did other vocational posts. Like I did a stint at state government in Queensland. I did a stint at the National Transport Secretariat, which is a federal government body. So, you know, I did, I guess, do a couple of stints in economics to get that sort of industry experience as well.
Yeah. So I really want to know how you manage your time. What was... what like, was it like, you know, you just did it, or was there some sort of thing that you put in place that made you sort of kind of...
I'm a very organised person by nature. I'm very good at prioritising my time, and yeah, that's really it. You know, you just have to prioritise your time and learn to juggle the many things that you're involved in, and just go with that. So yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, and how like detailed do you make your plans? Are you going like every hour you're doing this, or?
Just depends on the day. You know, I'm very commitment focused. So if I make a commitment to something or somebody, then, you know, I'll always keep my commitment. So you just have to plan ahead and stick to the plan.
Wow. Is it really that simple?
Well, I don't know. Again, it's a personality thing. I'm still the same now. So, you know, I'm just highly organised by nature, and, you know, like to stay on top of things. So, you just have to plan ahead.
Do you know what your Myers-Briggs personality type is?
I have no idea. No.
Wow, maybe I'll send you a link after.
I've done the Myers-Briggs. I've done many personality tests. So, but, you know, I don't think it always comes down to that necessarily. So,
no, but it'd be like interesting. Some extra insights, you know? Yeah, and tell me about, so whenever I talk to someone about a PhD, they just tell me one advice: don't do it. So I'm kind of keen to know, like, what was your PhD journey like? And
yeah, it was hard. You know, I'm not going to lie, it was very hard. It takes a lot of dedication and motivation to do a PhD. You know, doing a PhD is a very solo journey. You know, it's just you and your thesis, so it's very different from doing any other postgrad course, because you're sitting there in a class with many other people. This is not like that. This is literally just you and, you know, the thing that you're writing. and it's with you all the time, you know, so you're constantly thinking about it. So yeah, it's a tough journey. It's a long journey as well. And yeah, it wasn't easy, but we got there in the end. And my advice to people who want to do a PhD is, you know, I would say you've got to pick a topic that you're really passionate about, because that's what's going to keep you going for, you know, 3-4 years. And you got to do a PhD because you really, really want to, you know. Don't do a PhD just because you want to have a doctor in front of your name or something like that. That's not going to work. And, you know, if you want to get to the end, it's something you got to be really passionate about, going on the journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and how does one not get sick of the same topic for 4 years?
Well, that's what I mean. You know, that's
I mean, no matter how passionate you are, like, surely, like, when it's clocking off at 3 years, you're like, what's the point?
Well, you know, it's like with anything. If you're really passionate and dedicated to something, you stick with it. So that's what it's about. It's about sticking with it. It's, you know, again, it's about managing your time. It's good to do other things while you're doing a PhD. And I did lots of other stuff. You know, I did lecturing at uni. You know, I went to many conferences. I published papers. You know, I learned French. You know, you got to kind of find other things as well. So it's not just about doing a PhD. It's not the only thing that's in your life. Yeah.
Did you set up like any sort of a study buddy accountability thing? Like,
No. When you're doing a PhD, as I said, it's just you and your thesis. There are no study buddies. So it's basically you, your thesis, and your supervisor. That's it. So you know, having a good supervisor is very important. And you know, I was very lucky to have really great support when I was doing my PhD, and yeah, that's about it really. So yeah,
wow,
but it's a tough road.
Wait, so how do you sort of cope with like burnout and stuff like that?
It's the same with everything, you know. It's the same as burning out from a job, you know. It's stressful times, but you just kind of need to get through it. You know, I think if you want to succeed in anything in life, you know, you've got to work hard for it, right? There's no free lunches for anything, and you got to be strong, and you got to be resilient, and you got to build those things up, and all of that comes with experience. And doing a PhD was an experience. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. And I guess when people generally do PhDs, they have sort of that aim to be like a lecturer or something like that. So I was kind of keen, like, when you're doing that PhD and you're also lecturing at the same time, did you ever consider that, like, hey, I might enjoy this, or nah?
Yeah, no. So I never, I did a PhD because I wanted to do more research at that point in time. And that was the only reason. So I never had any interest in becoming a permanent lecturer or becoming a professor or anything like that. So that's why, you know, I did a lot of other stuff while I was doing my PhD, because I wanted sort of that full academic experience. So, you know, that's why I did a lot of lecturing and, you know, published papers, and, you know, basically I felt like this was my academic career. And then, you know, once this was over, I would go on to other things. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And so after the PhD, what kind of work did you start looking for?
I didn't look for anything.
Good answer.
You know, I got a consulting job, again, just purely by chance.
Wow, how did that work?
It was great, you know. I'm quite thankful for it, because once I did my PhD, I actually wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And then I got into consulting, and I discovered that this was perfect. This really suited my personality, you know. Unlike doing a PhD, you know, consulting, you know, you work on the short projects. You learn a lot in that time. You meet lots of people. It has a lot of variety, you know, and that's one of the things I love, is doing things that have a lot of variety. So, yeah, it kind of ticked all the boxes for me at that point in time. I have a really short attention span, so, you know, it's perfect, like getting to work on lots of different projects on, you know, a huge range of industries and topics. You know, it was, it really kind of spoke to me. So I found like felt like I'd found my calling, if you will.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was great.
Yeah, and then when you say like the job found you, like you said by chance, like how did it actually happen? Someone approach you and be like, oh, you got a PhD, you know, heard about you.
Yeah, it was a bit like that.
So like almost being headhunted, sort of.
Yeah, and I've basically been headhunted throughout my entire career.
Wow.
That's how I've kind of landed most of the roles I'm in, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's just opportunities come your way, and you just have to take those opportunities, I think, and kind of see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the first consulting role, like, what do you think made them sort of headhunt you? Like, was it something you did in particular that you can sort of think of, or
I think
how did
it
that
was
information pass down?
I think it was just kind of word of mouth, and you know, it's
Previous
a whole range of I don't know. Honestly, to this day, I don't know. I don't know. All I know was it came my way, and I took it up, and yeah, it all kind of went from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then later, how did you sort of? So, what company was the first role in?
So I worked for an engineering firm called Acorn, which is a
yeah.
global engineering consultancy
Yeah.
that had a small advisory practice in Brisbane at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was within like economics, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, technically, I was within transport economics space.
Yeah.
But you know, I worked across many different projects, or you know, to do with like utilities and transport. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And then just wondering, like, because I've seen that you've taken like many different jobs at many different companies. So at that like first job, you were pretty happy. How did you know when you wanted to leave, and how did you sort of make your way through like the chain of jobs?
Yeah, again, it's purely taking up opportunities. So I didn't plan to leave Acorn. I was headhunted to PwC.
Oh.
And yeah, again, you know, it seemed like the perfect role, so I took it up. And then, yeah, it just kind of went from there, really. So,
Wow.
you know, I just wanted to take up as many opportunities as I could. And, you know, consulting is quite broad and varied. So, and I think working at different firms, you gain different experiences. Different firms specialize in different things. So, yeah, it was basically just kind of went on that journey, really.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And how did sort of PwC like hear about you? Was there something like in like do you have any idea how they sort of found you and like why you out of everyone?
Yeah, I don't know. It just happens. These things happen.
Wow. And being headhunted, is that like you get a message from LinkedIn or email? How does it work? Like I've never been headhunted.
I think
before.
it's a bit of everything, really. So yeah.
Yeah. So they
it's a bit
message
of
you.
everything.
How did they contact you, by the way?
I don't know. It was a long time ago. Honestly, I can't even remember. That was like 10 years ago. I was working at PwC, so yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it just happens.
Wow, cool. And what was that experience switching from Acorn to PwC?
Yeah, it was fine. Thoroughly enjoyed my time at PwC.
Yeah.
PwC is like one of the favorite firms that I worked for. I had some really great bosses and mentors, and I learned a lot there. Yeah. And they gave me some really, really amazing opportunities. So, you know, I've only got good things to say about PwC. Yeah, I had a great career while I was there. Did lots of travel, worked on some really, really interesting projects, met some really interesting people who, you know, many of whom I'm still friends with now or still in touch with. So, yeah, we've kind of just gone on this consulting journey together, really. And Brisbane's a small town when it comes to consulting. Everyone, you know, people kind of just go from firm to firm. So you always end up seeing somebody that you know. So, yeah. No, it was great. Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I guess like, you know, finally like having gone to like sort of the big four, do you think it's overrated or what's your kind of stance on that?
Oh, I don't really want to...
okay, touch on that.
Well, you know, I'm not the sort of person who likes to badmouth places, you know. I believe you kind of learn from the good and the bad, experience-wise. You know, everything teaches you something, so you just kind of go with it. At the end of the day, there's no perfect workplace.
Yeah.
It's all about what you want to get from the role and the job, and you know, it's basically it's about you. It's not about them.
Okay, that's pretty good.
You know, it's what you want to do. It's what you want to do with your career, what you want to do with your life, and what opportunities you want to take, and you know, the journey you want to go on, and really that's for you to figure out as an individual. And then make it happen, basically. You know. So yeah, that's about it. I don't really have anything bad to say about any place that I've worked. It's all been part of my journey. I've learned from all of it. So yeah, and it's got me to where I am today. So
yeah. Fair enough. Good response.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess how long did you work in for consulting before starting your own business, Abby's Acumen?
Oh, Abby's Acumen was just sort of like a side project kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've always been a full-time consultant.
Wow.
And Abby's Acumen was just something that I started on the side because I felt like I needed a side project at that time. And
that variety.
And it was all about, again, trying to, I guess, mentor other young professionals and give advice. And yeah, it was more of a personal interest project for me at the time. And then sort of work took precedence, so I had to sort of
quit it.
Yeah.
How long did you do Abby's Acumen for?
A couple of years, yeah.
And how did it did it start almost by chance, someone approaching you and then?
No, this was purely an idea I had.
Okay.
So, cool. Throughout my career, I've had periods where I've taken a bit of time off work. And this was just something I thought about during one of those periods and decided to give it a go. And it was a bit of a project while, I wasn't sort of doing anything else. And then I just sort of kept at it while working. So, yeah, it was purely an idea and concept that I thought of, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then how did you sort of transition into the sort of public sector?
Yeah, pretty easily. No, so I decided that I didn't want to work in consulting anymore. Again, in consulting, similar to academia, I never had any interest in becoming partner or anything. So I got to the associate director level and I decided that was enough for me.
Yeah, and why is that? You were pretty close to, getting to the...
Many reasons, 8.5 years is a long time. My life changed in that time. I got married. I was looking for something less stressful.
Yeah.
I didn't want to keep traveling a lot. The jobs I had were very stressful. They took a lot of time and, I didn't want to spend so much time away from my family anymore. So that was the main reason. And, I wanted to also work in government because most of my consulting clients were government clients. So I wanted to see what it would be like on the other side. And the job I have now, again, it just sort of came up by chance. And yeah, I thought I'd give it a go. I wanted to do something that was a little bit different from consulting. I'd always been interested in strategy work. So I thought, yeah, give it a go, see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, now I have a lot of other peers who are graduating, and then so do you have any advice for us, hitting the workforce and maybe in companies like Big Four that you've had some experience in?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you work, you've got to give it 100%, It all comes down to what you want to do in life. So if you want to be successful, you want to have a successful career, you got to work hard for it. Nothing will be handed to you.
Yeah.
But what I find is, if you work hard, opportunities will present themselves. And then you got to take up those opportunities. And then more opportunities will present themselves. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
The most important thing is don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
Don't be best friends with people. It's at the end of the day, it's a business. It's not personal.
Yeah.
So have strong collegial, business relationships, but, don't go to work thinking that you want to be buddy-buddy with everyone. That's not the point. The point is to learn, especially when you're young, just be a sponge, learn as much as you can, build that knowledge, gain the experience, so work hard, gain the experience, and, find people who can advocate for you. That's really, really important. Having strong mentors, people who can teach you things about leadership and, just doing good business, that's really, really important. And, those mentors are the ones who will inspire you and motivate you and take you far. So I've been very lucky to have some really great mentors in my career. So you got to have people who to advocate for you. That's really critical. But yeah, in my experience, it all comes down to hard work and dedication. Without that, you don't really get anywhere in life. So because it's competitive. It's a very competitive market out there. Doesn't matter where you're working. Doesn't matter if you're working in university or in industry or government. You know, it's still very competitive out there. So you got to give it your best, regardless of what. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And in terms of finding mentors, was it like just people that you previously worked with, or did you sort of go out of your way to sort of contact someone?
A bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's about seeking out people who inspire you.
Yeah.
And talking to them, and you know, it just kind of goes from there. Yeah. So I've been lucky to have some really great bosses and lecturers and all that kind of stuff who inspired me and who I've kept in touch with, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So, but you know, I would say it's a bit of both. Yeah.
And kind of curious, how do you officially ask someone like if they can be your mentor, or how do you sort of go about it?
Well, you can if you want to. I mean, these days I think it's actually quite easy. There's lots of different mentoring programs.
Yeah.
I've been a mentor for lots of different mentoring programs. You know, most professional bodies and associations have mentoring programs. Universities do. And, you know, these are free. You know, they're not even, it's not like you have to pay for it. So I think there's lots of opportunities and lots of ways that you can find good mentors these days.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a standard sort of template way how you go about approaching it? Like, oh, hi, I'm Abby. Like, would you blah, blah, blah. I admire this, and then can you...
No.
Okay.
I think, again, you know, coming back to being very individual and authentic, it's about your journey and the journey that you want to go on. So, and what you want to learn. So I think if you want to have a mentor, you got to first figure out what you want mentoring about. You know, if it's a particular topic or area or but then again, this is what I mean. I think, you know, throughout your career, if you take up opportunities, you'll automatically meet people who will inspire and motivate you, and who will just, you know, become your mentors over time.
Have you ever reached out to someone, like just cold emailing them asking to be your like mentor?
No.
Okay, so it's always someone that you sort of...
Yeah, all my mentors are people who have either, you know, met at uni, who have lectured me, or like I said, ex-bosses, or just people I met through the workforce, or, you know, professionally, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay, so it's never been someone you just met once and then asked them to be a mentor?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess that would make...
Yeah.
That'd be a lot more easier. Yeah.
It helps if you already have some kind of relationship with somebody, yes.
Yeah, and then just some random question. I saw that you got certified for the, was it 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? So,
yeah.
Like, what does that certification look like, and what sort of prompted you? I'm like a fan of the book, so I'm just kind of curious about like what you actually learned.
It's a course that was recently offered through my workplace, so I decided to do it, and I think it's great. I think it's a really great course. I think everyone should do it. I think you can learn a lot from it, both professionally and personally. So
is it
highly recommend.
So is it just like the contents of the book, just relearning it, or is there some sort of extension?
I don't know. It's a bit of both. I'm not sure if I should say too much about the course itself. But no, it was a great course. I learned a lot from it, and I think it's, you know, I think everyone would benefit from doing a course like that. So, you know, again, it's important to invest in your own professional development. But again, it looks differently at different points in your life. So, depends on which life stage you're at, I suppose. Yeah.
Cool. And then you also mentioned about, like, you know, working hard. So just wondering, do you believe in work-life balance?
Of course, absolutely. Work-life balance is extremely important. But again, you know, it looks differently at different times of your life. I think when you're young, you don't have many commitments. You know, it's not like you have a family. You can work harder, and I think you should work harder. I think it's okay to work weekends and extra hours, you know, when you're young, because you're learning, and that's really when your career is taking off. But then, you know, obviously later on in life, as life changes, you have other things become priorities. So you just have to kind of decide what's important for you at that particular point in your life and go with that.
Yeah, okay, cool. And I'm just going to ask you a bunch more random questions. So, just wondering, like, how do you switch off generally? Like, because it seems like you work very hard, and, like, how do you not sort of bring the work home?
I would say actually in my current job, I'm very good at switching off. I think that's, it's one of the reasons I left consulting, because when you're a consultant, it is hard to switch off because you are working a lot of out of work hours. But in my current job, I don't do that. I don't work extra hours. I don't work weekends. So once the work's done, the work day's done, that's it. Just focus on other things.
Nothing in particular you do to sort of, set the mood?
No, not really. I have a young child, so that's kind of enough.
Yeah.
She sets the mood for me. So,
Enough.
yeah.
I want to have a child, that's the answer. I'm just curious, what does your first hour of the day look like, and what does the last hour of your day look like? Do you do any sort of morning practice?
Not really. Again, I'm just sort of go with the flow type. As I said, I'm very organized, so my calendar is very organized.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I do when I switch on my computer is, I check my calendar.
Yeah.
To know what I've got on that day, how many meetings, etc. And then you just kind of organize your day according to that. And then I'll check my emails. Kind of have a mental to-do list. And, when I switch off, I know that if I've ticked everything on my to-do list, then that's a good day. So,
Yeah, cool. And do you have any advice you'd give to your younger self?
Not really, to be honest. I don't really believe in regrets. So I don't really have any regrets. I don't think. I've had a really great life so far. I've had a great career. Not really. I don't think so. You just kind of go on the journey. Sure, there might be things along the way that you might wish you had done a little bit differently, but nothing major, really. I'm quite happy with where I am right now.
That's good. Cool.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to chuck in that deep question. So, Abby, to you, what do you think the meaning of life is?
Oh, the meaning of life.
As an economist.
No, not as an economist. I do believe that the person you are is not defined by what you do. So it might be an economist, but that's just my profession. Yeah. It's only one part of who I am and what I do. And to be honest, I don't even do a lot of economics work right now. So I do believe in legacy. So I'm all about doing good, leaving things behind. And that's one of the things I really loved about being a health economist and working on health economics consulting projects, because I felt like these were all important things that benefited society and the community. And, so I'm really about, leaving good things behind. Some kind of legacy. I guess doing a PhD was sort of part of that as well. That is a legacy. That's something that
leaving like the work you've written.
Yeah, that's right. So it's everything. Just want to have an impact, I guess, at the end of the day. I'm a parent now, so I want to be a good mother. I want to inspire my daughter. It's, I think at the end of the day, it's just about being a good person and thinking about what you want to leave behind. Those are the sorts of things that motivate me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so what does your perfect day in the life look like?
There is no perfect day.
But I guess your ideal day, like what time would you wake up? What would you do? And
yeah, again, there is no perfect day. So I don't believe in perfect days.
The ideal day. Perfect is a little bit too like...
Yeah, again, I mean, the ideal day is being able to have a sleep in would be nice, but that's not really something that happens these days. My daughter wakes up very early. I don't know. I think just spending time with family and friends, really. That's a good day, Previously, a good day was being able to travel. Not so much now.
Yeah.
But, we can still have really good days at home. And I think, every day that you can spend time with family and friends is a great day, really.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And we're pretty much at the end of the podcast. So I have to ask you, how has your experience been like on this podcast?
It was good. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for asking me all these questions.
Has it been a different sort of vibe to other podcasts that you've been on?
I've never been on any other podcast.
Okay,
this is
that's
my
good.
first podcast. So.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Not a professional.
No, not a professional. So
Yeah. That's cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.